All right, today we're heading to Kyoto, Japan to get into the story behind one of the country's most incredible and iconic sacred sites, Fushimi Inari-taisha. We're going to figure out what's really going on with those thousands of famous orange gates. I'm willing to bet you've seen a picture just like this before. It's this seemingly endless, almost hypnotic tunnel of bright orange-red gates, just winding their way up a mountainside. It's absolutely breathtaking, but it makes you wonder, what is this place really? So yeah, it makes for a great photo, but what do these thousands of gates actually stand for? Why are they even here? Well, that's the mystery we're unpacking today. And to even begin to understand it, you have to get your head around the sheer mind-boggling scale of it all. To really get this place, you first have to wrap your head around just how massive it is. So right there at the main shrine in Kyoto, you're looking at something like 10,000 of these gates. They're called torii, by the way, and they create these incredible tunnels of color that just go on for kilometers, lining the trails all the way up to sacred Mount Inari. But here's where it gets even crazier. This isn't just a Kyoto thing. Fushimi Inari is the head shrine for a deity named Inari. And get this, there are something like 32,000 sub-shrines for this same god all across Japan. It's this massive nationwide network of faith. So, who is this incredibly popular deity at the center of it all? Who inspires this much devotion on a national scale? At the very heart of the shrine is Inari Okami. In the Shinto faith, Inari is a kami, or a god. And Inari is a huge deal in Japan, traditionally tied to the absolute fundamentals of life. We're talking rice, agriculture, and sake, the good stuff. But what's really fascinating is how the worship of Inari has totally evolved. See, while Inari started as a god of rice and farming, over the centuries things changed. Today, Inari is overwhelmingly seen as the patron of business, merchants, and just prosperity in general. A prayer to Inari is a prayer for success in the modern world. And you absolutely cannot talk about Inari without mentioning the foxes, or kitsune. You'll see thousands of their statues all over the shrine. Now, they aren't gods themselves, but they're believed to be the divine messengers of Inari. And if you look closely, you'll often see them holding something symbolic, like a key to a rice granary, a direct link back to that ancient ideal of a bountiful, prosperous life. Okay, so we've got a god of success and thousands of gates. How do those two things connect? Well, the answer is all about a history of gratitude. These gates are not just decoration. Every single one of them was donated. Starting way back in the Edo period, a custom began where people and businesses would donate a torii. It was their way of saying thank you for a wish that came true, or maybe as a hope for future success. So really, each gate is like a giant thank you note carved in wood and paint. Even the shrine's founding myth is tied directly to this theme of prosperity. An ancient text tells the story of a wealth man who, pretty disrespectfully, shot an arrow at a rice cake, or mochi. But the mochi transformed into a white bird, flew to the mountain peak, and where it landed, rice began to grow. It was a sign of the mountain's sacred power. Now, to ground that legend in reality, we know the shrine was formally established way back in the year 711 by the Hata clan, and this is key. They were an influential family that had immigrated from the Korean peninsula, and they brought with them all this advanced knowledge of agriculture and sake brewing. So it makes total sense that their patron deity became so connected with the harvest and success. And all of this builds into our final piece of the puzzle. How does a shrine with over 1,300 years of history become such a global, modern-day icon? I mean, the history here is just staggering. Founded way back in 711, it got the powerful patronage of the emperor by 965. The main hall you can see today was built in 1499, and by the 19th century, it was officially recognized as one of Japan's most important shrines. This place has some serious historical weight. And while the torii gates get all the attention, the main shrine buildings are just as significant. On the left is the imposing Romon, that's the main entrance gate. And on the right is the Haiden, or main hall, which sits right at the base of the mountain and is the main spot for prayer and offerings. With such a unique and powerful look, it's really no surprise the shrine has become a pop culture landmark. It created that unforgettable scene in the movie Memoirs of a Geisha, and it's been featured in countless other films, anime, and manga series. But its most unexpected and, I think, most fascinating cultural impact comes from a place you might not expect, the world of video games.
This is so cool. Nintendo's headquarters is in Kyoto, actually within walking distance of the shrine. And the legendary game designer Shigeru Miyamoto has said that walking through these winding tunnels of gates directly inspired the Fly Through the Rings gameplay of the classic video game Star Fox. Think about that, an ancient sacred path inspiring futuristic space combat. How wild is that?
So, what does it all mean? From a myth about a miraculous rice harvest to a physical ledger of answered prayers for modern businesses, all the way to the spark for a classic video game, Fushimi Inari shows us that the path to success is ancient, it's modern, and it can be found in the most incredible places. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What piece of history, what ancient path that you might walk could be the inspiration for your next great modern idea?